You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast, brought to you by NBA 2K23. Myself, Mamutsi, alongside the one, the only, Mr. BJ Armstrong.
Real name, no gimmicks, no gimmicks.
Man, what a night of NBA action. 2 games going down to the wire. We'll start on the game that just finished over here. The LA Lakers took the 117-112 win over the Golden State Warriors. They stole home court in that first game. Obviously, the Lakers a little bit more rested going into this one, seeing as they handled business against the Grizzlies quicker than the Warriors did against the Kings. And it was that which helped them sustain a late Warriors comeback, as the Lakers played Anthony Davis and LeBron James, I believe, the entire second half of the game. Very interesting game. 2 very different philosophies and styles of basketball. 2 very different, kind of stat lines when you really look at it. The Lakers went 6 from 25 from behind the arc, whereas the Warriors went 21 from 53 from three-point land. Conversely, the Lakers 25 from 29 from the free throw line. The Warriors only 5 of 6 from the charity stripe. Lakers won the battle of the boards 63-54. Anthony Davis absolutely dominated with 30 points and 23 rebounds. LeBron added 22, D'Angelo had 19, Austin Reeves had 10, and Dennis Schroeder came up huge off the bench with 19 points of his own. Whereas for the Lakers, relatively quiet night by Steph standards, 27 points. He didn't really get cooking until late. Klay Thompson had 25, and Jordan Poole came back alive with 21. Looney had 10, Andrew Wiggins had 15, but Draymond only had 6 points and 3 missed layups. Which was interesting of note. PJ, what were your key takeaways from this feel-out game 1?
Well, the thing that stood out to me most was the Lakers had a game plan, how they were going to attack Golden State Warriors on the offensive end and the defensive end. They made a huge commitment to protecting the rim. I thought Anthony Davis was fantastic tonight with protecting the rim. And their perimeter players were going to try, many of the efforts weren't as successful as others. However, at least they had a plan. They were going to trail on all of the screens at the three-point line to force them into what, the terminology changes from generation to generation into a funnel defense. And you can see that Anthony Davis was there to protect the rim at all costs. I thought LeBron James did a good job of playing defense from behind, had a couple run-down block shots as well. But overall, defensively, they had a plan. Offensively, they established that Anthony Davis was going to be the most dominant interior player. And I thought he did a terrific job of that. He didn't settle for just perimeter shots. He really established himself. I thought they did a great job of playing a physical brand of basketball. They were aggressive. And overall, they played well enough to win this game. For Golden State, it was tough, right? Because that was a quick turnaround, such a high moment, game 7. You come back a couple of days later, and then you have to play another game versus a new team who's had a couple of days, as you alluded to. So overall, great win for the Lakers. The series has started. If you're going to win a game in a series on the road, this is probably the easiest game to target and win because, it's a fill-out game. However, it's going to be fascinating to see what the Warriors do because of the size. The size of the the size of the Lakers seems to be a problem. Now, in game 1, you could see some things you go, okay, what are they really going to do with Anthony Davis? What are they really going to do with LeBron James? Rui Hachimura didn't really play, but you can see when he came in, there was a difference in size when he came in. And then, of course, I thought D'Lo was terrific. You know what I mean? Like, Steph Curry is going to be Steph Curry, but D'Lo showed up. And that's what you're looking for in a series is for guys to show up. I thought, Schroeder showed up and played, and he made it competitive. Austin Reeves showed up. So they got great efforts, great contributions from a lot of different players. Give the Lakers credit. However, game 2 is going to be interesting because I want to see now that the Warriors are going to have a day to prepare, and they've had a couple days now to kind of shake off the game 7 and get ready for this series, because it was a quick turnaround for them to see what they're going to do. Because if they get down 0-2, now you got a problem. Now you have a real problem. So great job by the Lakers, though. I thought they were terrific. Laker Nation, I'm sure, will be fired up. But the series is far from over, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we all know winning game 1 on the road in Golden State doesn't lead to great things, as the Boston Celtics can tell you from last year's finals. One player that you didn't mention there was Jared Vanderbilt, the Vandalorian, who did a fantastic job guarding Stephen Curry. He managed to stay with him through a lot of his off-ball, running through screens and whatnot. Didn't give him any space. His size, his strength really troubled Steph. I think he did a fantastic job with that. We didn't see... on the other side, we didn't see any Jonathan Kuminga. We did see early minutes for JaMychal Green, who knocked down a couple of threes early on in the game, because the Lakers playing this defense where they essentially have AD and LeBron guarding Looney and Green, they're going to sag all the way back down into the paint. What this means is there's going to be a lot of space on the perimeter for shooters to get open, shoot the basketball. And that's how Jordan Poole, I think he hit 3 threes really early on, because anytime he's coming off a handoff, Anthony Davis has dropped so far back on the defensive side that he has all the space in the world, especially when D'Angelo Russell was going underneath screens. So that was an interesting, move defensively from Darvin Ham. How the Warriors adjust their offense to that moving forwards is going to be interesting if they go all in on the shooting. I mean, they put up over 50 threes tonight, and you live by the 3, you die by the 3. I think at halftime, the Warriors were 13 of 30 from behind the arc, whereas the Lakers only made 1. So it's an interesting difference in philosophies there. Kevon Looney, another monster night on the boards, 23 rebounds, 7 offensive rebounds, but it would have been a lot more had it not been for the monstrous efforts of Anthony Davis. Now, my question here is, Anthony Davis was sensational tonight. There's no denying that. He played 44 minutes, though, and he was really working on both ends of the court. Do you see him being able to maintain this throughout the course of a series, or are the Lakers running the risk of burning out too early?
Well, Mo, I mean, listen, when you get to the playoffs, you got to do what you got to do. So the answer is simply, if they want to advance, the answer has to be yes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because let me assure you, Steph Curry and company are going to do what they have to do. And if you've heard me say this, Mo, probably more off air than on air, when you come into a playoff series, okay, a champion prepares for 7 games. Okay, you don't prepare to say, well, I'm going to just try to win 4. No, you have to prepare to go 7, because you have to respect the other team. So if Anthony Davis is going to win this series, be prepared to go 7, because let me assure you, the mentality of the guys in the other locker room, they're prepared, as they showed you last round, to go whatever and do whatever is necessary to win a series. So, if he's not, then they're going to lose, because they're going to need those type of efforts every night. I mean, Mo, the Warriors, by all accounts, didn't play well. Anthony Davis was fantastic, and they barely won the game. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the Warriors are going to play better. That means Anthony Davis is going to have to play better. LeBron James can say, well, I wasn't. Okay, that's fair. So whatever is going to be necessary for him to do 48 minutes, he has to be in that level of condition at this part of the season if the Lakers are going to advance.
Well, you say it was a close game. The Warriors actually had the chance to win the game. They went on a 14-0 run down the stretch. So their legs looked fresher because they had managed to get some rest for their guys in the second half. Steph Curry was like trapped at the half-court line, passed the ball up, and Jordan Poole took a very deep 3 with 9 seconds remaining on the clock. What was your reaction to that when the shot went up? He obviously did not make the shot. Otherwise, it'd be a very different conversation.
Well, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. I thought it was a close game. I thought they had a chance. I mean, that's all you can ask for.
That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about Jordan Poole's shot selection there at the end. 9 seconds left on the clock. Shot clock is turned off. It's a deep 3. It's a real, like, in level with the logo almost. And you've got time, I don't know, maybe to find another look. Maybe, I don't know if they had a timeout. I think they still had a timeout remaining. But he just decided to chuck it up. What was your thoughts?
With the exception of Steph Curry, I think all of the shots that most of the players take today are bad shots.
I mean, Klay Thompson had a disastrous night as well. We've got to talk about that. 6 of 16.
Klay Thompson, look, Klay Thompson, all right, I give him a pass too.
9 of
those
25
two are the only two players. Those two are the only two players. Well, it's probably more. I shouldn't say the only two. Damian Lillard, those guys. Did I think it was a bad shot? Yeah, by the game that I know. I always say there's a time and place for everything. I thought that was a little quick. I could question the shot. However, those are the shots that the kids shoot. And if he makes it, by all accounts, he was open. Now, I would have liked to maybe gotten a better shot. Okay. If that's Steph Curry, I live with that shot, and I don't even think twice about it. If it's Klay Thompson, okay. I just want to give myself a chance, right? And the best chance to make a shot like that is Steph Curry. But in saying that, that's how they play. That's how the Warriors play. The Warriors got back to playing the way they play. And, Jordan Poole made some shots tonight. I mean, he made some tough shots. I don't think those are always good shots. I would like to think, by playoff experiences, based on what I know, maybe you want to be a little bit more patient in that situation. But hey, it's a new era. I got to roll with the punches. And by all accounts, he was open. By all accounts, it was probably a good shot for him. I just would have liked to at least given my best player, Steph Curry, possibly an opportunity to shoot the last shot. But that wasn't the case. He was double teamed. He did pass the ball. Jordan Poole was open. And he shot it. And if he makes it, great play. He didn't. Now you live and move on. So I don't think that was the reason they lost the game, for sure. But it was a little quick by all accounts for me. But I'm not upset about it.
Well, speaking of best players being unable to take the last shot, the Miami Heat were without their best player as they headed to New York for game 2 of the series against the New York Knicks, and they lost that game 111 to 105. It was a very close game. Even Max Strus went away with an injury during this game as well, so he only managed to play 25 minutes. So shout out to the Miami Heat for really fighting until it went right down to the stretch. Jalen Brunson got off to a horrible start, but he ended up finishing with 30 points. Julius Randle returned to the lineup with 25. RJ Barrett had 24, and Josh Hart had 14 with some very timely corner threes down the stretch in the fourth. And as he always does, a clutch offensive rebound. He finished with 11 boards on the night. Over for the Heat, Caleb Martin had 22. Max Strus had 17 before he went out. Gabe Vincent had 21. They went deep into their bench as well. They played 4 guys. Duncan Robinson came in, did a little bit of his thing. But what were your takeaways from that one?
The Knicks are very fortunate. They are very, very fortunate because by all accounts, provided they would have got the same effort plus a Jimmy Butler, I think Miami wins this game. Okay. Now, I have to give the Knicks credit. They won a game where they didn't play well. I don't know what's going on with New York right now. I don't know. Now, this is back-to-back games where they haven't played well. This is back-to-back games, okay? And when you're in the playoffs mode, you make adjustments and you figure out things that you can do versus a team. And then, okay, like the Warriors, they didn't play well, but there were some moments in there where you were like, okay, let's go. If you were a Warriors fan. And then if you were a Lakers fan, you said, okay, the Lakers they figured out something during the course of the game. And then you try to emphasize what you can exploit with this team. And then you try to, shy away or go away from the team that, you go away from the pressure that the other team is applying. Now it's been 48 minutes, right? So that's 96 minutes, right? And the Knicks haven't put together for the most part, they haven't put together like a stretch of time. You say, if we could just extend this first quarter the way we played in the first quarter to a half, and then you take a half to maybe 2.5 quarters, and then you try to put it all together in a 48-minute package. Right now, Mo, I don't know what the Knicks are trying to do. I couldn't tell you what they're trying to do.
It's like, okay, cool. The Miami Heat went into a zone And it was very predictable given the amount of players that they're missing that they're going to go to a zone. And the Knicks just looked completely unprepared. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
respect Tom Thibodeau, he's a great coach, but how is your team looking so unprepared against a team that's missing Jimmy Butler, Victor Oladipo, Tyler Herro, and then Max Strus? How?
And that's what I'm saying, Mo. And Mo, you have your full roster.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying, Mo. Like I'm just like concerned now because I'm going, okay, these were the first two games at home. All right, if you're on the road, you go, okay, we just need some home cooking. We need to get back we need to just regroup. Mo, now theoretically, the games are going to be tougher on the road than they were at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm concerned with New York. Jimmy Butler now is going to come back with about 4 or 5 days rest in between games. I mean, from the last time he's played till the next game. And then Mo, we'll see what happens. Now, maybe they play better on the road than they do at home. Hopefully that's the case for the New York fan base. However, Mo, I'm a little concerned. Miami accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. They got a game there. But it's there's no flow to what they're doing. Defensively, there's no rhythm. They've really shortened their bench. I mean, I think it was like 2 or 3 guys scored tonight. No one was on double figures on the bench. Obi Toppin now goes from a starter to only like 10 minutes in the course of a game. I don't think he scored this evening.
0 for 2.
So I just think right now, Mo, and normally coaches shorten their roster when they go on the road. So he's already shortened it at home. Jalen Brunson was, I think, questionable. I think you told me that. He was questionable before the game. I know he got banged up a little bit tonight, sprained his ankle, I think, or something happened. So I'm just concerned. I'm concerned right now, but it doesn't mean that they can't win. It's just that, I didn't expect them to play this way in the first 2 games of this series, especially at home.
Well, it was a little bit tough for them because they only found out a couple hours before the game that Jimmy Butler wasn't playing. So maybe similar sentiment to what the Celtics had to deal with in their game 1 against the Sixers. But they've got game 2 in Boston tonight. It's still not known whether Embiid will play or not. He was the recipient of the MVP award. Congratulations to him. Fantastic season, very well deserved, as many say. But they've got game 2 and Philly have got a 1-0 lead. Are the Celtics finally going to come alive? I mean, I'm once again worried by Joe Mazzulla as the head coach. He had an interview today in which he said, I'm going to pull up the quote right now because I just shook my head when I read it. He says, we managed the game with our offense.
We managed the game
with our offense. He says, this defense is in this team's DNA. They're going to go out and defend, but we managed the game with our offense. I think the assumption that this team, just because they were great defensive last year, is way overblown because they clearly aren't playing defense. And if you're planning to win a championship by managing games with the offense, it's a recipe for disaster. I think something needs to be done about Al Horford being completely picked on by opposing teams because this is the 6th game in a row where it's happened. The Hawks were doing it, and then the Sixers did it in game 1. Obviously, Al Horford getting up there in the age and the amount of work he had to put in the Celtics run to the finals last year and then a shortened offseason is clearly taking its toll. Rob Williams is a far worse defender this year than he was last year. I think that surgery he had in the offseason has kind of limited his athletic ability a little bit.
What did he have? What surgery did he
have? Did he not have his knee surgery that was lingering during the playoffs?
I didn't hear that, but it's possible. It's possible.
And then Marcus Smart definitely looks a little bit slower than he has in previous years. And that's what you get for fighting over every single screen and diving for every single loose ball. The wear and tear takes its toll. Yeah, Rob Williams had surgery in September for a partially torn meniscus on his left knee. So when 3 of your 3 best defensive players are all far slower laterally on the defensive end than they were last year, you can't simply say, oh, defense is in their DNA, we're going to be fine. You've got to come up with something that's not going to allow you to get exposed like you have been against the Hawks and you have been now in this series against the Sixers. What adjustments do you see the Celtics making for this one tonight?
Well, the key, I'm convinced after watching games, especially in the playoffs, you have to find a way to be disruptive on the defensive end. And you have to have you have to have a number of ways, right? A variety of ways in which you're going to defend. So, if you can't just have a steady diet of man to man. Why? Because teams, these guys on the offensive end in particular, because the offense has an advantage, right? You and I talked about that, I think, a couple of days ago or about a week ago, about how difficult it is to play defense today because the offense has an advantage. However, one of the ways you're going to have to counter that, which you're seeing here in the Miami series, you have to have 3, 4, 5 defensive schemes in which you can go to during the course of a game to break up the rhythm of the flow of the game. Okay, so what do I mean with that? I'm not criticizing the coaches or the coaching staff for Milwaukee, but I'll just give you an example. James Harden got into a flow. That's
and he got into a flow early in the game.
Okay, these guys are really, really good, especially offensively, because they have an advantage, right? Well, when a guy gets into a flow, you can be stubborn and say, this is how we play, and we'll ride it out. However, Mo, when a guy gets going, right? When you can just tell James Harden had it going. Okay, it was the basket was bigger when he was shooting it. When the guy gets going like that, you got to do something to disrupt him and disrupt the flow of the game and disrupt his flow. So you got to go box and one. You got to go, let's go to a zone. Let's go to a hard trap every time he gets it. Let's go to face guarding. Let's do something to disrupt the flow of the game, because we have to force someone else now to beat us and get them out of the flow and the rhythm that they figured out during the course of a game. That's possible to happen, Mo, right? You can see, like, all right, if James Harden's getting going, we're just going to double him. Like you saw what the Lakers did tonight at the end of the game. They said, anyone else is going to beat us except Steph Curry.
ABC,
they committed to that.
Anyone but Curry.
Okay. Anyone but Curry, right? Is that what you call it? ABC.
That's what Stan Van Gundy called it.
Okay, yeah. So you got to do something. You can't stop these guys. You can't stop a great player. Mo, a great player is a great player for a reason. James Harden, which I don't think anyone expected him to have a game like that, but he had a flashback. Now, I don't know if that's who he is or he just had a moment. When a guy has that type of moment, Mo, you better have a number of ways to defend it, to disrupt it. All right. And that's what I think Joe Mazzulla's got to do that, because Joel, if he comes back, he's very capable of carrying the game too. This kid, Tyrese Maxey, is capable of carrying the game. So you have to be able to say, wow, if you really want to see like just terrific coaching on the defensive end, just watch the Miami Heat right now. Because the Miami Heat, what they're doing against Jalen Brunson is one of the more intriguing things to me, because they're throwing everything at this kid. It's like every 5 possessions, there's a new defensive scheme.
Can't find a rhythm.
Both. He can't get into a rhythm because, all right, for the first 5 possessions, he's playing against a man-to-man. Okay, then they change who's guarding him, and then they trap him on the next 5 possessions. Then after those, then they go to a zone. Then they go to, Mo, you know what's crazy? I haven't seen too many professional teams play what's called a matchup zone that looks like a man-to-man.
Just like, explain for the fans what you're talking about here.
A matchup zone means you're just going to guard a certain area on the floor, but you're going to give the appearance that it's a man-to-man. So normally guys play zone and they hold their hands up in the air. They get in a defensive stance like they're playing man-to-man, but it's really a matchup zone, and they just guard whoever's in your area.
We saw the Heat do some of that tonight.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, God, this guy, Coach Spo is like, hey, man, I get it. I just got to give these great players different looks to force them to never catch into a rhythm. And you saw how stagnant the offense was of the New York Knicks. Like, they didn't know what to do some of the time. It looked like they didn't know what to do, I should say. I shouldn't say they didn't know what to do, but it certainly gave the appearance that they were hesitant on the offensive end. That's a nicer way of putting it.
Yeah.
So, and then, Bo, you just do things and you try to disrupt what's going on there. So I give them credit for that. I think the Boston Celtics are going to have to do that, because as good of a defensive team as they are, because they are a good defensive team, talking about your Celtics, some of these guys are capable. And I'm telling you, Doc Rivers had a free look at their defense. He had a free look at the defense because we didn't have a playbook on what they were going to do minus Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
And that's what I was afraid of for a team like that.
They did exactly what they did against the Hawks. They just dropped the bigs back, and then in the last few minutes of the game, they'll try and switch the bigs onto the ball handler. And as good as Al Horford can guard James Harden or Trae Young, he's just not got the length or the foot speed to actually contest with them on the perimeter.
Well, Mo, especially when they got it going. Mo, I don't care who you are. When you have it going and you're feeling good about your offense and you're playing out there with confidence, Mo, it's tough to guard anybody. I don't care if you got length, defense, or whatever. James Harden had it going. Trae Young that night had it going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, again, we'll see what they're going to do. I think they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to do something because, Mo, once you find out what you can do versus a team, and then you establish that there's nothing you can do to stop it, Mo, then that becomes a problem. I think the Celtics have a counter to this. At least on paper they do. But what are they going to implement? What's the principles of this defense here? Is it just this is who we are? We're going to live with the results? Or are we going to say, hey, we're going to do what we have to do to disrupt this team and then move on and try to advance? Because right now, Mo, I didn't like what I saw.
Coach Mazzulla is saying we need to shoot more threes. So I'm predicting another unserious performance from the Celtics and another win for the Sixers. We don't know if Embiid's going to play or not. He's just got the MVP trophy. They'll probably say he's not going to play and then he'll play at the last minute.
I will say this. He shouldn't play. And here's why.
So he can get the rest.
So he can get the rest. And then if he can play, you give him a couple. You've already established, just like what they did with Jimmy Butler tonight. Jimmy Butler, I'm sure, could have played.
Yeah, but you've already won one on the road, got the home court advantage, and now you get the extended rest period.
Yes, and whatever's going on with JoJo is going on, and then you bring him back home. So if you can win one there, which they've already done, and then go home with a healthy JoJo for game 3 and 4 and win both of those games, you're up 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
You're up 3-1, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So we'll see how it is, but this is a must game, just like the Knicks. This was a must game for them, and now the Celtics back us against the wall. Traditionally, we know they don't panic, and hopefully they'll figure it out and they'll win game 2, and everything is good for you, Mo. Once they win, but if they don't, I'll be calling this time.
They won't win, so I'll be expecting a call, or maybe I'll put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and you won't be able to reach me. Who knows? All I know is that you guys listening have got to subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you share with a friend, all that good stuff. We appreciate each and every one of you who locks in. BJ, we've gone past 300 episodes.
And counting.
Bro, we recorded 300 like 3 days ago. I didn't even realize it was a 300. Usually I'm like, oh, wow, it's episode 100, episode 150. We just 2 in rhythm now.
Yeah, it was we're just listen, like we're watching the games. You don't sleep. We've established that. And you're just giving the people what they want. I mean, Mo, it's your world, and thank you for allowing us to be in it.
Thank you for being here. It's not my world, bro. Man, I need to get a flight to LA or something because these late night, early morning things, or whatever you want to call it, they slowly killing me. So you might see me on your doorstep very soon. I don't know, but I got to figure something out because I don't know how much longer this is gonna. Like when I was young, it was easy to stay awake all night and then have a productive day. Like I used to stay awake all night and then go hoop the whole day the next day. Now I'll stay awake all night and I walk around like a zombie because it's starting to take its toll. But as a thank you for you guys who get the show every day, you can feel free to leave a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast app because that helps bump us up in the charts and it helps the show grow. So that would be greatly appreciated. We thank each and every one of you for tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow with more breaking down the Celtics and the Sixers. So until then, get buckets.